and then fucking Brandon goes and plays it.
Yeah,
Do
so
you want to tell the fucking story?
I was in I wasn't in high school. I was in junior high at the time. But
yeah, because I was in elementary school.
But I remember that I came home and I was like, well, let me try it too. I'll start a save game.
And I was not a dickhead like your older brother, so I actually let him play it.
Yeah, so I started playing it, and this is the first time, the first time of many, eventually, that this would happen. But I started playing it that night, and Ryan's just watching me play it, and he's like, I haven't even gotten to this part yet. I'm like, yeah, well, this is pretty cool. Like, and then all of a sudden I get out of Midgar, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like, if you're familiar with Final Fantasy VII, you'll know what that means. Like, that's the first place you are for the longest part. Similar to like Knights of the Old Republic, how you're on one planet for a long time. Like, games back then used to do that. Remember where you're just like, this is your starting area. You get very used to that, and then we introduce the rest of the world to you.
And that was, I mean, there's a reason why that was such a big game, why the fucking remake is such a big, like, you know, everyone wants it.
Yeah. But so I eventually get out of Midgar, and by this time, it's like midnight or 1 a.m. of me playing this, and Ryan has already passed out. Like, we shared a room at the time. We had, like, bunk beds, and so he'd already passed out watching me. I just kept playing. And eventually my mom comes to wake us up the next morning and goes, oh, you're up early. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah. And it's the first time I've ever stayed up all night playing a game. And then I had to go to school.
Yeah, then I was about to say, the stupid motherfucker had to go to school. So how'd that work out for you?
And I think I played football at the time because I, for some reason, thought, oh, yeah, I can play football. I can't.
We both made that mistake.
And so, like, I had football practice and stuff afterwards, and I'm just, like, on zero sleep.
Damn.
And it was the first time I've ever done that.
Yeah, he's you right now, Fred. Explain to everybody. Yeah. Did you explain that you only got 2 hours sleep?
I think it did.
Well, either way, we'll explain again. You only got 2 hours of fucking sleep.
So Final Fantasy VII. The other one I may have played almost as much as I played Final Fantasy VII because I played through it multiple times was Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid was
such a good I forgot that was the OG fucking PlayStation.
And it was on PlayStation,
Yeah, it was so good.
It was a double disc game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a double disc game. Or maybe a 3-disc game.
And remember the fucking... It would blew your mind in order to fight the one... what the fuck was his name?
Like precog guy. What was his name?
You had to unplug your controller and put it into the second port to even play him.
Was it Psycho Mantis?
Psycho Mantis. Yeah, it was Psycho Mantis.
Like, he would read your fucking memory card to find out what games you were playing. He's like, oh, I see you've been playing Twisted Metal, which, by the way, was another one I played a shitload of on PlayStation.
Yeah, I feel like PlayStation's the first console where it's like, it's hard to pinpoint what is the game. Well, and there's so many at that point.
What's crazy is we have to think about it. There were still 2 other consoles in this generation.
Yeah,
PlayStation was just on the top at that point. It went Nintendo. Then it went to the SNES generation, and kind of Genesis took over. Yeah. Then it went to the 3rd generation, and Sony took over. Yeah. But there was still a fucking Sega Saturn.
Their first console.
Yeah, there was still a Sega Saturn and a Nintendo 64, which N64 got a lot, and we'll get to that in a second. Yeah. But you're right, it was the first console for Sony, but Sega... I guess they had the Master System, so you're right. Yeah, it was weird.
So my brother and I had a little bit of a console war going on. I was PlayStation, he was N64. And my big thing was that PlayStation games could have full cinematics, they could have full music, everything, because it was on CDs. And N64, the music was always lacking, the cinematics were always lacking. It had to be like actual in-game
that's what
graphics.
I was saying. Yes, exactly. You know? There was no like...
The wrestling games and everything, like they didn't have the video.
Yeah, why was it because of the CD and versus the cartridge?
Yeah, cartridge you can't do that.
It was what they could fit on it, maybe.
Which is crazy because technically wasn't PlayStation a 32-bit system?
It doesn't matter. The 32-bit just matters like how color deep you can go.
Okay.
Like it was more so you could actually have videos.
Well, which I guess made sense because if you look at the N64, it had a lot brighter color schemes versus the games that were only on PlayStation.
Yeah, because 64 bits is just how many colors can you fit onto it.
Well, more
than that, but yeah.
One of the big things that you could take it, today and say Warzone, the WWF game, and play it on the N64 and play it on the original PlayStation, and you get all the entrances, you get all the like actual music and everything on the PlayStation, and on the N64 you get like a bunch of kind of like half-assed versions.
Yeah, but I also do like the gameplay, I think, on the N64 games compared to the PlayStation back then.
I mean, the game, I think that's what it was, but me, being the one with the console that had like the almost like more multimedia kind of experience, always kind of would,
Well, N64 was later. Like, it was a year later. Like, that was the first time Nintendo didn't release, like, around the same time. Like, I remember PlayStation getting a really good foothold before Nintendo ever even released the N64. And I remember it being a really big deal. Everyone was talking about why is it not on a CD? Why is it not on a CD? This is so stupid. Why is it not on a CD? And Nintendo's like, no, we want to stick with cartridges. That's what we want to use. And I mean, if you think about it, technically today they're using cartridges with the Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They tried on the GameCube to do. Oh shit! Fuck! What am I talking about?
They did
GameCube
CDs.
through Wii U. They use CDs.
Yeah. That's true.
CDs,
They did go to
DVDs,
it.
whatever.
They came back to quote unquote cartridges with the
with the Switch.
and it's just a chip. It's like
Yeah, it's more like an SD card.
Right.
Right. Each game is its own.
But PlayStation, God, like that was probably the game or the system that got me into gaming.
But then you look at the system that nobody talks about in that generation, the fucking Sega Saturn.
Yeah. So what's the most memorable game you can remember?
I
on the
never
Saturn?
owned one. Maybe a Sonic game.
Nights into Dreams.
Nights into Your Dreams. That's one of the top ones.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this console. I just skipped this console completely, which is crazy because I love the Genesis so much, and then the next console, the Saturn, I just fucking ignored it. I was too obsessed with the PlayStation at the time.
It was considered a complete failure.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. Sega didn't even... I don't think they had any identity at that time.
They moved on to the Dreamcast, which we'll get to so quickly because of that.
Yeah.
What sucks is the Dreamcast. I feel just so bad for the Dreamcast.
So many good games on that console.
Such a great console.
So good, and it really died because of the piracy.
Don't get into that too much. We'll get into that in a minute. But
sure. I mean, just to stick with it. I mean, I can't stress enough how many good games were on the PlayStation. It just really sucks that if you went back and played those games today, that they wouldn't be. I don't think they'd be playable enough.
I don't think so. I've gone back as recently as 2 years ago.
I can't tell you any of those. Wait, you're talking about the PlayStation?
PlayStation.
Oh, sorry.
PlayStation,
So we're done with Saturn. We're not even going to talk about Saturn.
Yeah, that was Saturn. That was Saturn.
Because even if you take a game like Metal Gear Solid, which was like revolutionary, was a great game.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up.
They improved on it so much with Metal Gear Solid 2 that they re-released the original.
Twin Snakes.
With the same engine. Yeah,
Twin Snakes was great.
Resident Evil 2.
Now they're re-releasing.
One of my favorite games of all time. I guarantee I can't go back and play that game.
Yeah, me too.
See, so I went back and played Final Fantasy VII maybe 2 years ago. It was still just as I bought it.
Let's say with turn-based Japanese RPGs,
because it's not an action game.
That's what I'm saying. With turn-based RPGs like that, fucking Octopath Traveler that's coming out soon for Switch. That game plays a lot like Final Fantasy VII, but it's obviously more updated and upgraded graphics and everything.
So it's crazy how many franchises start. Sorry, go ahead.
No, the gameplay is the same. So it's not.
It's
you're
not
going back.
It's not an action game. Like
it's not dated.
Yeah, the
gameplay's fun.
You're walking in a direction and you're.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
So franchises that started at PlayStation, you got Crash Bandicoot, obviously, Spyro, which is making a comeback. Tomb Raider was original PlayStation.
Yeah. Yep.
Resident Evil, original PlayStation.
And these are all exclusives, right? At the time, I
they at
believe.
least started as exclusives.
At the time, they were exclusives.
Yeah.
Tekken on PlayStation.
Yep.
Pa Rappa the Rapper, which was actually what I thought Ryan was going to say was his most played PlayStation game.
No, I played it a lot, but not that much.
Metal Gear Solid, which I realized Metal Gear came out on NES, I believe, and Super NES.
Yeah. It was a top-down bird's eye view.
But it was really...
Well, whenever Metal Gear Solid, which Solid was like the next part of the series.
That was when it really became Metal Gear as we know it today.
Yeah.
Then we had Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Fuck, I forgot. But that was also on N64.
But it first started. I'm pretty sure it started
Nintendo
off
64. But that one, I wouldn't be surprised if we could go back and actually play that. Like if that was playable today.
Maybe. There's that new skating game from Ubisoft, right? Is that Ubisoft that's doing it?
The one that's not
really
out yet. But
they announced it at E3. I mean, I'm excited we're getting something new from skateboarding.
The crazy thing is, I'm not even done. Twisted Metal was another franchise that was huge.
Yeah.
You know the guy that made Twisted Metal? Fuck, what's his name? Jeff. I'm gonna find it.
Jaffe.
Yes. Chaffee. He made God of War.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And then Gran Turismo was also original PlayStation. The original PlayStation had Gran Turismo.
And Ridge Racer, I guess, too, right?
Yeah, Ridge Racer doesn't exist anymore.
Wipeout? Was that another one?
Oh,
Wipeout was another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many franchises that started with the PlayStation that still run to most of those that I just mentioned still run to this day. Oddworld was another one that sort of became a franchise but didn't really take off as much as they wanted it to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the Oddworld games.
Yeah. And they ended up coming to the Xbox. They were really successful on that.
Yep. Medieval was another one.
I talk about that all the time.
Nightmare Creatures.
They're supposed to be making a new Medieval.
Yeah.
Nightmare Creatures. Fuck yes.
Legacy
Silent Hill.
What?
Silent Hill.
Yeah, Silent Hill. Legacy of Kain was a franchise for a little while. I would love for that game to come back. That was like
There's
the whole
so much good stuff from
Parasite
that.
Eve.
Yes, there's so many
No,
good...
Parasite Eve was Dreamcast.
No,
What?
it was
No, I thought it was
originally
PlayStation. Look it up.
It was.
Well, we got to figure it out.
I have it. I have it. Brave Fencer Musashi. Anyone remember that game?
No.
You're right. Parasite Eve was on PlayStation.
Dude, everything from that... There's so many good franchises and IPs from that generation that should be revamped today.
It's really hard to express just how impactful the PlayStation 1 was. That library is like almost literally endless.
To me, it's the NES library 5 years later. Like, how influential the NES library was.
Yeah.
I want to say like 5 to 10 years later.
That was a great console to grow up with, to be honest.
Yeah, and that was my first, and it's great. That's why it's one of the reasons why I love the 90s probably so much is because of the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
So I think we should save N64 for the next generation because I feel like N64 really competed with the next generation more so than this.
I mean, it's still...
I was playing Final Fantasy VII at the same time I was playing Star Fox 64.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's jump into N64
Yeah,
then.
well, then, what do you think? 'Cause I do have a lot for N64.
For me, it was fighting games, wrestling games, Nintendo games.
Man, I totally forgot about the wrestling games until you mentioned it, and then I started thinking about it. And so many of those,
Tons.
because that was when wrestling got big. Mm-hmm. Like wrestling's gone through a few eras of being big. Like 80s, it was really big. Around that time, it was really big with Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and stuff like that.
NWO.
It's somewhat coming back, but not like it used to be.
Exactly.
It's still somewhat coming back, though.
But at least but that was huge. And then with the N64 and PlayStation, they started coming out with the games, and it was so much fun to play. Mm-hmm. Even though if you think about it now, the controls were not great. Like it's not the same as other fighting games because it's just so much more complex.
Yeah. Right.
The controls back then were not at the level they are now, where you can actually understand how to do combos and things to do certain stuff. But
I will say, so for N64 though, you know what saved that console? I think and it's all the memorable titles from that console to me.
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, that's part of it, motherfucker. Give me a sec. It's all from Rare.
Yeah.
It's all from Rare games.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Donkey Kong.
Perfect Dark. GoldenEye. Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
Everything. And it's crazy that now Microsoft owns Rare. I mean, they made
they're
Sea of
not
Thieves.
doing anything with it now.
They made Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, okay. What else?
Fucking doing Battletoads, right?
Is that Rare?
I think it's Rare.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, no, it is Rare. Yeah, that's Battletoads.
I didn't realize Conker's Bad Fur Day was Rare.
They did the Donkey Kong Country series. Yeah. God, dude, there's so many good.
Banjo-Tooie. Yeah, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie.
See, I thought you were going to say that some of the first party games
I mean, there were the first party, but what really, the fact they had the license for, or they pretty much, did Nintendo own Rare, or they just only made games for Nintendo at that time? Maybe that's what it was.
I don't know.
Either way, all those games fucking killed it on the
I mean,
N64.
GoldenEye. Talk to any person on the street, and they probably remember playing
that
GoldenEye.
game is shit.
And the
now,
fact
by
that,
the way.
I love that was the first game that started banning, not officially, but people would ban players from playing different things. Sort of like how now, if you go to play a Tekken tournament and you play as Eddie Gordo, you're considered awful.
scrub.
Man, fuck you! I did that. And I don't give a shit.
Can I just say real quick, I'm offended that we all forgot about Yoshi in this entire conversation. Yoshi's Island on the
I liked
SNES.
it. Yeah,
I never played Yoshi's Island.
Yoshi, one time. It was
also, Yoshi's Island on N64. Both
okay. Well,
very notable games. Sorry. And Kirby.
Well, GoldenEye was the first game where it's you cannot play as Odd Job, you cannot play as Jaws. Those were the two. Because if you played as Jaws and everyone played as other normal characters, you got a headshot every time because you were taller. And if you played as Odd Job, you could not hit him at all.
For anyone who didn't play these games, and probably that's a lot of people, Odd Job was a shorter character, so people would pick him because he was harder to hit. And as you said, Jaws.
So fuck that shit. Do y'all remember a game called Jet Force Gemini?
I remember the game. I didn't play it.
Here's one of the things I loved about the game. The gameplay was cool. It was a weird sci-fi game. There was a dog you could play. It was kind of cool. But then in the multiplayer part of it, which by the way, Nintendo 64 had these random multiplayer games. Conker had it too, but it was local multiplayer. It was deathmatch essentially. But anyway, they had a fucking
split
dog.
Screen?
Yeah, and they had a dog that was literally in a tank. So he had tank as a tank for fucking his legs. I guess he got blown the fuck up. So it was his upper body with a tank, and I was like, that's the coolest fucking thing ever. Yeah, what'd you say?
I said, fuck.
It's a big deal, Fred.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
No, but
I never played that.
Do you remember how many I played Ocarina of Time maybe 5 years ago. That game is so much fun.
That holds
It's
up.
still good,
It
right?
holds up.
Truthfully, this